I cannot read what's in Prime Minister or Datuk Sri Ongkili's mind, but effectively that is going to be the effect. The result of invoking Section 114 means the whole authority over water industry is in the hands of the federal government, and whatever plans that we have defended, and whatever principles and rights that we have defended so far, while we will continue to pursue it, it is going to be under different environment. Previously, because the concession holders include state governments, we have a strong say. Currently, when the whole assets is going to be taken over, and then the whole decision on what is the compensation and who is going to take over, because under OSIA, under the Act, the final objective of the Act is to make sure that all the heavy, capital-intensive water assets are owned by the federal government through Perbadanan Aset Air, right? That is not in dispute. What is different under Section 114 is that instead of the commercial negotiation, seller willing buyer basis, where you can actually iron out the agreements and provisions and rules, it is now will be done unilaterally by the federal government. And therefore, logically, people may accuse me to be an alarmist, but logically, if Selangorians have given a 2/3 mandate to Pakatan Rakyat government, primarily also because of our insistence to defend their rights with regards to water, there's nothing that's stopping federal government to turn the table around and, as you put it, pull the rug off our feet and use and manipulate the water issues as a political ammunition against Pakatan Rakyat. But what I'm most concerned is not even a question of how it will politically affect either party. I'm most concerned that we will be seeing a new set of lopsided agreements, because all our energy for the last 5, 6, 7 years was spent fighting lopsided agreements in other areas. Lebuh Raya pun kita kena lawan perjanjian yang berat sebelah, IPP pun begitu, dan kita telah lihat bagaimana perjanjian yang berat sebelah ini memangsakan rakyat. Jadi melalui Seksyen 114 ini, ia memberi peluang kepada kerajaan persekutuan untuk menentukan perjanjian ini mengikut cita rasa mereka, kerana kuasa diberikan kepada mereka. Jadi itu membimbangkan saya, kerana saya bimbang peluang ini diambil untuk beri konsesi yang lebih besar kepada Syahbaz. Saya bimbang peluang ini diambil untuk beri perjanjian komersial yang begitu baik dan menguntungkan kepada Syahbaz, dan melaluinya juga menyebabkan tarif air akan naik di masa akan datang. So I think you cannot rule out that water issues will continue to be used by Barisan Nasional as political ammunitions against Pakatan Rakyat. What more now that they have the full control of the water assets and industry in Selangor? Should the Section 114 goes ahead, federal government has only expressed its intention so far. Of course, it has not been implemented, so that's why I'm putting up the red flag, so that the public is aware. These are the implications when Section 114 is invoked by the federal government. Why there is a focus on this issue now is because last week Menteri Besar has officially responded that and more or less the gist of his response is that while the federal government has every right according to the Act to invoke the Act and to unilaterally take over the water assets, there are certain issues and conditions that have to be ironed out and discussed between the federal government and Selangor government. And I suppose what I'm doing today is just to re-emphasize and put all the other issues which I think are of public interest, so that on the part of Selangor government continues to protect and to champion these 4 issues to ensure that after the invoking of Section 114, it will not be abused and manipulated by federal government to victimize the public. On the part of federal government, we are giving them a warning now. If you choose to invoke Section 114, do not try to be funny and use that Section 114 power to do all the 4 things that I've raised. So if the problem is legally, memang secara undang-undangnya melalui akta, kuasa diberikan kepada menteri untuk mengambil alih secara paksa. Kuasa itu ada melalui Section 114. Cuma it's one thing to have the power provided in the act to you, is another thing to act honorably given the sheer mandate of the people of Selangor to Pakatan Rakyat. If Barisan Nasional respects and acknowledge that rakyat Selangor has voted overwhelmingly for Pakatan Rakyat, they wouldn't even consider invoking Section 114. Because Section 114 to unilaterally take over the whole assets and to decide solely is basically, in my opinion, is against the spirit of the result of the last general election, which gives the power and mandate to Selangor government. And one of the platforms championed by Selangor government and Pakatan Rakyat is the sheer defense of the water assets and water industry in the best interest of the public. So sebab itu saya faham jawapan Menteri Besar itu adalah, sementara kita faham kuasa yang ada pada kerajaan pusat, tetapi sila hormati pilihan yang telah dibuat oleh rakyat Selangor. Jadi jangan cuba-cuba untuk menggunakan kuasa itu untuk melaksanakan perkara yang bertentangan dengan aspirasi rakyat Selangor yang telah disuarakan di dalam pilihan raya umum yang lepas. In my interpretation and understanding of the act so far, the sole power rests with the federal government. It's their right and it's their prerogative to appoint whoever. So the state can appoint whoever, but the power still rests with the minister and the spend. So we'll wait and see. As I said, that's why if federal government respects the wishes of the people of Selangor, they will negotiate and mutually administer the takeover and the ironing out of the new commercial agreements with the future operator of the water assets. If they don't respect the wishes, well, they will just ignore and they continue to do what they like because the act allows them to do it. Jadi, sebab itu I understand why people are jittery, and I am very jittery because the power is overwhelming. I know that I'm very careful to use the word nationalization, but that's more or less what the power under Section 114 is not that much different compared to what can happen if nationalization takes place. The government takes over the whole assets and management, and the government will decide how best is to compensate, who is going to run, who is going to manage. So Selangor government may request that its representative sits as administrators after the takeover has taken place. Whether or not federal government will respect that, obviously is a clue of what is in store for us. If they cooperate and discuss and agree mutually on how to go forward, that means at least I'm comforted a bit. If they do not, that means that they have a different idea altogether, and I think they will just bulldoze whatever they like, and that, of course, will have a severe impact on the people of Selangor.